are you?
Gonna need a bigger cross.
I've seen some bad movies this year, you know, Garbage Pail Kids and Ricky 1 and Son of the Mask. But fuck me, this is bad. A demonic nun summons Satan in the form of a ferocious shark and unleashes terror upon the sleepy fishing town of Paris Landing. Now I just gotta say, that's really cute. The description of this movie on IMDb and Google actually described this like it's an actual movie. 1.3 out of 10 on IMDb, 1.1 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and 1 out of 5 on some website called Caution Spoilers. Yeah, you know, I'd say that's fairly accurate, actually. This is one of those movies where, like, if you watch a trailer for it, you're like, oh, okay, you know, it doesn't look great, but, oh, it looks somewhat passable. That's because you're probably watching it as a shitty YouTube video, and then you actually watch the movie, you're like, yeah, no, this is not a movie. So I did minor research on IMDb. The director of this movie, Donald Farmer, has, like, 7 other movie credits before the movie credits, and they all look exactly the same like this. They all have like similar sounding sleazy titles and all that kind of shit. Apparently the studio that now distributes this movie on DVD is the same one that now does the distribution for Amazing Bulk. It perfectly explains it. You look at it and you think, oh, it's gonna be one of those like so bad it's funny movies like Sharknado. It's supposed to be self-aware and all that kind of thing. No. It's not like that at all. It's laughably incompetent and lacks any kind of sense of self-awareness. So the movie begins with what's supposed to be a beach, but it looks more like a lake. There's this girl, and then this evil nun shows up and stabs her, and then dumps the body in the water, and she then makes some kind of demonic sacrifice. We see shitty CG of a shark swimming in what is clearly a bigger body of water. Because every time these people go into the water, the lowest that it goes is up to their waist. Like, it's clearly not the ocean where, you know, you could go under it. It's clearly just some shitty lake they're trying to pass off as the beach. There's not even, like, a beach sand area. Every time people want to do sunbathing, they just go on this really shitty looking muddy grassy knoll area next to like a park bench. And believe me, this is just the beginning of the lazy incompetence that is this movie. We then jump to a year later where we see 3 girls who are heading off to hang out at the beach, which is again the same lake area, where one girl gets pulled underneath the water and she gets a shark bite, which is really just, I don't know, probably just ketchup squirted on her leg. It says something when the killer jellyfish sequence from Birdemic 2 looks better than this movie. Come to think of it, how is it that the time machine that I found at a yard sale is more cinematic than this movie? They take her to a hospital, and that was probably one of the most jarring things. When it's like a point of view shot of walking through the hallway of a hospital with, you know, a bunch of doctors and stuff walking around, and it looks like they just snuck like a phone camera into like one of their pockets or something, and they were just walking through a hallway, and it's like, oh, there's your hospital. Making a hospital set and all that kind of thing, that takes work. And movies are not about work. Movies are about making them as easy as possible, right? The girl who got attacked by the shark makes a miraculous recovery, and it's because, of course, the girl is either now possessed by the shark or she is transformed into the shark. That's not, that whole part is not really clear. And you're going to be hearing that a lot throughout this review because nothing in this movie makes any sense. From there's a bunch of parts where, like, for some reason there's a part where she hitchhikes on a completely empty road, but she still has her thumb up for some reason. And this guy picks her up, and then, like, they're in his car, and then he starts, like, filling up her leg, and then they go to that body of water again, the lake that's supposed to be the beach, and then they're, like, just touching each other, and it's like, what? They didn't like being touched in the car, but then, you know, once they're in the body of water, I guess she was just trying to, you know, do the seductress thing where, you know, oh, you know, they're in the water, they're playing, they're, you know, sexual playing together, and then bam, stock footage of shark attacks. Actually saying that's giving it too much credit. It's not even stock footage of a shark. It looks like it's the exact same animation of the shark every time that they show it. It's like the same 5-second loop of the shark with glowing eyes swimming from one end of the screen to the next. And there's just a bunch of scenes like that all throughout this movie where she tries to lure people into a body of water and then turns into the shark or summons the shark, some shit. The next one is the most awkward one because she's at this public playground and there's this woman who looks like she's in her 30s and she's either playing a child or she's supposed to be playing someone with a mental disability, which is incredibly uncomfortable.
So what do you like to do, Allie?
I like to get wet.
And then it's weird because that night they go to like a backyard pool and they're both in bikinis and then like she's like, the shark lady is like swimming around her and it's supposed to be like seductive, and I guess the director thought it was sexy, but it's just incredibly uncomfortable when you just take into account that this is supposed to be either a kid or someone with a mental problem. That's all levels of, oh hell no. It's just incredibly uncomfortable. It's like some sex pervert from like a trailer park in bumfuck nowhere made this movie. This is probably the most like perverted, skeeziest movie I've ever sat through for Blockbusters since like, I don't know, those borderline like homoerotic movies from David Dakota or Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. That was definitely the movie it was making me think of. That's probably the one thing that Shark Exorcist can take away compared to Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, is that at least in Shark Exorcist there was full motion when we probably wish that there wasn't any. And then there's just these weird scenes where like people are just doing stuff for no reason. It's just like there's 3 girls wandering through like a graveyard and then one of them I guess gets possessed by the shark or by a demon or something, because then she just ends up like on the ground and writhing around, like thrusting and grinding on the ground. Like, again, she's supposed to be getting possessed, but I'm more than willing to believe that Donald Farmer, the director, had other intentions. I know this because in one of the other many subplots in this movie, there's this like paranormal ghost hunting show where there's this like redhead lady and she's supposed to be going around trying to solve the hauntings that are supposedly going on in the beach area. And then she ends up getting possessed and she does the exact same thing. She ends up on the ground writhing around, like grinding and thrusting, and she even at one point says,
"Oh, come inside me."
Yeah, Donald Farmer, you think you're subtle. You think you're subtle, huh? You think you're funny. You didn't think people would catch on to that. We're smart. We know what you're doing, motherfucker. Not just that, but it also feels like there's like some weird like vomit fetish going on, because it's like there's several points where people throw up what looks like orange juice, and it's supposed to be vomit. But there's a part where the paranormal hunter show lady ends up throwing up on another girl, and I guess she gets possessed. I don't know, because I don't think we ever see that girl ever again. You got girls in bikinis running around, you got thrusting and grinding around on the dirt, and then you got people spitting up orange juice. There's also girls playing with toy sharks and rubbing them on their bodies like they're sex toys. That's another thing that kind of happens. There's a scene where we see a guy just running. Like, he's like jogging at first, and then halfway through it looks like he's trying to like run to somewhere, because he ends up at the lake and we see another like bloodied body of a victim of the shark in the lake, and then he spits up orange juice, and then very creepily he says,
"Oh god, she's still kinda hot. I'd still do her."
You realize that's a dead body, right? I don't know. It's just this like weird, skeezy, uncomfortable, like just weird sexual element to this movie that's just, it's fucking disgusting. So anyway, back to the plot, if you want to call it that, is one of the main girls ends up going to a priest who looks like the guy who picked up the shark girl. That's what he looks like, except now he has his hair slicked back like he's like a 50s greaser, and he's wearing like what's obviously like a Halloween party priest costume, and they have like a long scene where they're talking back and forth about like the exorcists and how they can get the shark demon cleansed from her body. In the end, what this is all building up to is there's like a fun fair that comes to town, which I'm more than convinced they just decided to go to, and they're like, oh, there's a thing in town, we should film there, because, you know, if there's something set up, doesn't mean that they have to like actually plan or stage or set any of that kind of thing up. They're just like, oh, we can film there. It's an easy set for us. So they go to the fun fair, and there's one of the 3 girls, the blonde girl that's not the shark girl, with some guy who I guess dumps her, because there's no dialogue in this scene. There's like, it's just music. This like knockoff Exorcist theme music going on throughout this entire scene. I guess he dumps her because like they're just looking at each other and she tries to like hug him or something, and then she like gets tapped on the head by him and then he just walks away, and then she looks sad. Then the shark girl with a pair of fake vampire teeth you get at like a Halloween store then bites him because like, oh, I guess she's becoming the shark more and more because she now has these shark teeth, I guess. Eventually the main girl and the priest get their hands on her and they like tie her to a tree so that like her arms are restrained, except not really, because she ends up pissing off the priest, who then tries to strangle her, and like she just like rips free. Like either they didn't have her restrained well enough, or she just wasn't restrained at all and she was just doing this for the fun of it. Then what happens is I guess the shark demon is exorcised from her body, or maybe it's not, whatever. There's a hole in the sky that rips, like there's some like supernova thing going on, and the demon shark then falls from the sky. The screen then cuts to like red static and then cuts to black. That feels like an ending. But unfortunately, this movie is 70 minutes, so we've got more bullshit to go through. Then we cut to another person. We've never seen this woman before, but she's just some new random woman as she stops at the muddy, grassy knoll near Park Bench Lake area that's supposed to be the beach. And she decides to sunbathe on a overcast day. That makes sense. Again, the weird level of skis that's in this movie. There is a guy who shows up from behind a tree. We never see this man's face, and this man has no connection to anything. He just comes out and starts taking pictures of her on his phone like a total creep, and then just leaves. Then the nun from the beginning of the movie shows up again, and the lady just screams, and then the nun stabs something off screen and then fake blood hits her. I guess because they weren't in the same shot together, so they just decided to use like leftover footage, and they were just like, okay, we'll try and play it off like she killed that girl, whoever she was. And then the girl who was sacrificed at the beginning jumps out of the water and drags the nun down with her. I guess is like a way to pay off that thing at the beginning. And then for some reason we cut back to the two other main girls, the girl that got dumped at the fair, and the main girl who went to the priest. They're now hanging out on the dock. They're talking for a little bit, and then the main girl jumps into the water with very piss poor editing, like all throughout this movie. Like, watch this.
Please tell me what's wrong.
You don't want to know.
Yes, I really do.
Forgive me.
That clearly wasn't even her. They threw like a rock or something, like, and they're just like, oh, that was her jumping in. And then the demon shark comes back and attacks the other girl with like one of the few times they don't reuse the same shot of it just swimming from one side of the screen to the other. So what happened there? What happened there? Did the main girl know the shark was coming and then she tried to get away, or is she now possessed by the shark and can transform into the shark? What happened? I don't know, because the movie does not explain jack shit. Then we get some credits, and the movie is still not over. And what happens is we see, like, I don't know, an airport or a mall or like an aquarium gift shop or something like that. I don't know where the hell we are at this point. And then we see some girl. Again, we've never seen her before. We're just following her, walking around, seeing these, like, you know, tanks and aquarium areas filled with sharks and other marine life. And then her rubbing toy sharks on her body very uncomfortably. This goes on for 7 minutes. And then it just ends with her looking at the camera, and then the screen like filter turns red, and then her mouth leaks out more orange juice. End credits, and then they show the paranormal ghost hunter lady again, and I'm just like, at that point I was just, fuck this, I am done. I am not watching more. I'm fucking done. This movie is insufferable. Like, I was like, probably made it sound funny, and that was the thing. That was the thing that made me want to see it, because I saw reviews that said how bad it was, and they were like, this movie's not so bad, it's funny. And I believe that part of it, because I've said that before, and I was willing to believe this movie wasn't so bad, it's funny. When those people said this movie was like insufferably bad, and like not so bad it's funny, but just so bad that it's bad, they're fucking right. This movie is awful. The production has the charm of something that like high school kids probably made in YouTube in 2012. It has that like quality going for it, where like there's people clearly holding the camera, and there's tons of spots, again, adding to the weird uncomfortable level. There's tons of parts where you could hear the cameraman, probably Donald Farmer, the director, just heavily breathing. For some reason, there's these weird points where they like doing Dutch angles, like this is Battlefield Earth for some reason. Like, just, there's times where the camera starts off like in a normal angle like this, and then it just tilts for no reason. Acting is terrible. The acting is like porn level. It's that shitty. The characters are unlikable. They introduce like so many different things that like just don't connect to anything. Like, The Amazing Bulk, like let's use that as an example. The Amazing Bulk is laughably bad because the fact that it's on green screen and the bad effects and all that kind of shit. This movie doesn't have anything like that. This movie, it's even worse than your typical shitty like sci-fi movie that has sharks. Nothing makes sense, nothing goes anywhere. It's just so bizarre. The weird, uncomfortable, skeezy sexual element to it is just really uncomfortable. It's just, fuck this movie, man. Fuck it. I can't tell if it's the worst because, again, Garbage Pail Kids, Ricky 1, Son of the Mask. We've sat through some other bad ones, like Norm of the North was bad. Of course, we sat through Where the Dead Go to Die, Man Us the Hands of Fate, Birdemic 2. There's a bunch of other really awful movies we've sat through for Blockbusters, but fuck, man. This is easily top 5, if not like top 3. I mean, I would say this is worse than Birdemic 2, and I was pretty mad at that one, but man, this makes Birdemic 2 look like The Empire Strikes Back in comparison. Anyways, guys, that is the end of the Blockbuster videos for October. In November, I have another 3 videos planned. I'm going to try and do something similar to when we did the Blockbusters episode on the Blockbuster training videos. I want to do an episode talking about fast food training videos because I feel like those could be fun to sit through. I have a couple lined up. The other 2 are going to be regular movie reviews. Anyways, guys, until then, I'm Adam Sykes of the Blockbuster Show, and we will see you guys in the next video.